This is from Chapter 2 of the Koskapane textbook, and this is on page 30 of the textbook, SelfTest 2-3. All right, for this one, you're filling in the missing items in this chart. Number 1 says simple duple, and they give you the beat or the pulse as a quarter note. Well, if it's a simple meter and it's a duple meter, you know the top number of your time signature is 2. Remember, in simple meters, the top number of your time signature will be a 2, 3, or 4. 2 is duple, 3 is triple, 4 is quadruple. If you know the beat note is a quarter note, then you know the bottom number of your time signature is a 4. This is 2/4 time. Remember that the bottom note, the bottom number of the time signature in simple meter represents the note value that gets the beat. All right, if the beat note's a quarter, then you know the division are 2/8 notes. Remember that the division of the beat for simple meters is always into groups of 2. So here's the beat, here's the division. Notice the division, both of these values, equal that beat. An eighth plus an eighth equals 1/4. So here's the beat, here's the division. So make sure in simple meters your division is always by 2s, 2 of something. All right, the next one gives you a time signature of 3/8 time. Well, of course, that's a simple meter because the top number is a 2, 3, or 4. And the 3 indicates triple. Okay. Now the bottom number, again, tells you what note value or duration gets the beat. So if 8 is the bottom number, your beat value is an eighth note. If the beat's an eighth note, then the division of the beat are going to be 2 16th notes. So remember, always 2 of something. It's the next note value down from the beat. So if the beat's an eighth, then your division are going to be 2 16ths. Now, it doesn't matter to me if you put the stems up or down, just as long as you write the correct note value. All right, the next one, number 3, has a division as 2/4, and the time signature has a top number of a 2. Well, if the division is 2 quarter notes, that means the beat is a half note. If the beat is a half note, that means the bottom number of my time signature is a 2. I know this is a simple meter because the top number of my time signature is 2, 3, or 4. And then the 2 on top tells me duple. Now you might find it interesting to note that 2/2 is the same as cut time. 4/4 is the same as common time. Common time looks like this. So common time, cut time. All right, simple quadruple. Well, that means the top number is a 4 of my time signature for sure. Division of the beat, 2 16ths. Therefore, the beat is an eighth note. Well, if the beat's an eighth note, that means the bottom number of my time signature is 8. So simple quadruple, 4/8. Beat note, beat or pulse, eighth note, division of the beat, 2 16ths. All right, the last one says simple triple, so I know the top number of my time signature is going to be a 3. The beat note is a 16th note, so I know the bottom number is 16. Division of the beat, a little tricky here. What 2 note values go into a 16th note? Well, it's going to be 30 seconds, and they have 3 beams coming across there. All right, this is SelfTest 2-4 on page 33 of the textbook. This one deals with compound meters. Number 1 says compound duple. The beat note is a dotted quarter. Well, the division is going to be 3 eighth notes. How do I know that? Well, I know that the division of the beat in compound meters is always going to be 3 of something. And because I have a dotted quarter as my beat, I know that 3 of these goes into 1 of these. So the beat note is a dotted quarter. Division is going to be 3 eighth notes. Now remember, the top number of the time signature for compound is going to be a 6, 9, or 12. 6 is duple, 9 is triple, and 12 is quadruple. So duple corresponds to 6. Okay, the bottom number of the time signature corresponds to the division of the beat. Not the beat itself, but the division. So if eighth notes are the division, the bottom number of my time signature is 8. All right, the second one, 9/4, is given as the time signature. Well, that's compound triple. I know it's triple because you have to take that top number, the 9, divided by 3, and you have how many beats there are. So that's 3 beats, triple meter. Now, if the bottom number is 4, remember in compound meter, the bottom number corresponds to the division of the beat. So I'm going to say 3 quarter notes, right? 4 corresponds to quarter note. If 3 quarter notes are the division of the beat, then the dotted half note is my beat, right? Quarter plus quarter is a half note. The next quarter represents the dot. Okay, number 3, beat notes a dotted half. The time signature has a 6 on top. Well, I already know from the above example that quarter notes are going to be the division because there's 3 quarter notes and 1 dotted half. And if quarter notes are the division of the beat, the bottom number of my time signature has to be a 4. Because 6 is a top number, I know it's going to be compound duple. All right, number 4, compound quadruple, divisions given as 3/16 notes. Well, 2/16 is an eighth note, and this last 16th would be the dot, so the beat value is a dotted eighth. Remember that in compound meters, the beat value is always a dotted value. And then if 16th notes are the division of the beat, I know 16 is the bottom number of my time signature because the bottom number of my time signature corresponds to the division of the beat in compound meters. Compound quadruple, well, the top number is 12 because 12 divided by 3 is 4, or put another way, quadruple and compound corresponds to 12. 12 divisions, 4 beats. Okay, the last one. Eighth notes are the division. Eighth plus eighth is a quarter, plus another eighth is the dot. So the beat value is a dotted quarter. If the division of the beat are 3/8 notes, the bottom number of my time signature is 8. And if the top number is 9, that means compound triple. This is self-test 2-5 on page 36, part A. I'm just going to do the top part on this page, and then I copied the bottom examples onto my own piece of staff paper. Now, this exercise combines simple and compound in the same chart. All right, number 1, 4/4 given. If the top number of my time signature is a 2, 3, or 4, I know it's simple. I also know that it's simple quadruple because the 4 on top tells me there are 4 beats. The bottom number of a simple meter tells me the beat. So 4 corresponds to quarter note. And the division, 2/8 notes, because remember, in simple meters, the beat is divided into 2 divisions. So 2/8 notes equals 1/4. Okay, number 2, compound triple, dotted quarter is the beat. Well, if it's compound and it's triple, that means the top number of my time signature is 9, right? Compound meters have a 9 or a 6 or a 12. 6, 9, or 12 is the top number of the time signature. Okay, now, if the beat is a dotted quarter, the division is going to be 3/8 notes. Compound meters always have a division of 3 values. So 3 of those goes into one of these. And the bottom number of my time signature is an 8 because it represents the division of the beat. 8 corresponds to eighth note. Okay, number 3, 2/8 time. Well, 2 on top means simple, and the 2 means duple. The 8 on the bottom corresponds to an eighth note getting the beat. If the eighth note gets the beat, 2 16th notes are going to be the division. Right? 2 of these goes into one of those. So remember, simple meter, division of the beat's going to have a group of 2. Compound meter, the division is going to have a group of 3. All right, number 4 says compound duple. Well, compound duple means 6 on top for my time signature. Division says 3/4, so I know the bottom number of my time signature already for the compound meter here. And 3/4 is going to equal a dotted half note for the beat. Okay, number 5. I have 2/4 as my division and a 3 in the top of my time signature. So I know it's definitely simple. And 3 in the top means triple. Okay, if the division of the beat 2/4, the beat is going to be a half note. And if the beat's a half note, the bottom number of my time signature is a 2. So that's 3/2. And finally, number 6, 12 on the top of my time signature. Division of the beat, 3/16. This has to be compound. So if it's compound, I know that the bottom number of my time signature is going to be 16 because the divisions are 16th notes. 3 16th notes equals 1 dotted eighth. That's the beat. And then remember, the top number indicates whether or not it's duple, triple, or quadruple. And this is going to be compound quadruple. This is still on that page 36, self-test 2-5, but it's part B, but I went ahead and copied it on my own piece of staff paper. The idea here is to add 1 or more rests to complete the measure. So for example, number 1 says 2/4 time, and this is the music that we have so far. And I want to put a rest, 1 or more rests, to indicate a full measure of 2/4. Now, before you begin with these, make sure you look at the time signature and really think about it. So 2/4 says it's simple. It's a duple meter, so there are 2 beats. And the 4 in the bottom tells me a quarter note gets the beat. Well, these note values right here equal 1 beat, equal a quarter note, right? An eighth plus 2 16ths. That's beat 1. And then this is the beginning of beat 2, but it's not complete. I'm missing some of it. So you just really have to ask yourself, what am I missing out of beat 2? In this case, you're just missing a 16th note rest. Remember that 4 16th notes go into 1 quarter note? And this is like 3 16ths, and this is the 4th one. Okay, number 2, a 9/16. Well, 9/16 is definitely a compound meter. So the 9 on top says 3 beats, right? It's a triple, compound triple meter. And the 16 on the bottom? The 16 on the bottom tells me that the 16th note gets the division. 3 16th notes put together would be the beat, and that is a dotted eighth note. So here's beat 1. And then this is actually beat 2. It's a little bit hard to see, but this is an eighth note. So I'm missing the dot, which is equivalent to a 16th note. And these are 32nd notes. They have 3 beams. So 2 32nd notes would be the same as 1 16th. So this is like an eighth plus a 16th, which would be the same as a dotted eighth. So here's beat 1 and here's beat 2. If I'm missing the third beat, all I need is that third beat, and there it is at eighth rest. Okay, number 3, in 6/8 time. 6/8 is a duple meter. It's quadruple. It's a compound duple meter, rather. The 6 says there are 2 beats in a measure, and the 8 on the bottom tells me the eighth notes are the division. So 3 eighth notes, division, dotted quarter is the beat. Okay, so 6/8 times says 2 beats, and the dotted quarter is the beat. Well, if the dotted quarter is the beat, that means that this beat is incomplete. So I'm going to add what's missing. Basically the dot, or an eighth rest in this case. So that's beat 1. And then beat 2 is going to be the dotted quarter. Now you might be asking yourself at this point, why can't I just use a half rest? Because a half rest would be the same as a dotted quarter plus an eighth. And the reason is because you want to be able to show where the beats are. This is beat 1, and this is beat 2. So this is actually preferred to just a half rest. The half rest would hide where that second beat is. So when it comes to rhythm notation, you really want to make sure of a few things. You want to make sure, number 1, that you have the correct number of beats in the measure. That's fundamental, right? So in 6/8, I want to make sure I have 2 of these, or 6/8 notes. Number 2, you want to do your best to show where the beats are. So here I am showing beat 1, showing where beat 2 is with my notation. And then third, you can beam together values under the same beat. That's called beaming with the beat, or beaming on the beat. Notice in the top examples, numbers 1 and 2, these were beamed together under beat 1, and these were beamed together under the second beat. Okay, here's number 4. 4/16. Well, 4/16 is a simple meter because the top number is a 4. So there are 4 beats, and the 16th note gets the beat. So in this measure, I need the equivalent of 4/16 notes. What do I have right now? Well, this double dot's a little tricky, but what that actually means is the value without the dots plus half of it plus half of that, or a quarter of the whole. So an eighth plus half the eighth plus half of that, or quarter of this. That's what the double dot means. Now, in terms of 16th notes, how many do I have? Well, an eighth note is 2/16. This is a third one, right? So that's 3 total. And this is a half of a 16th. So I'm missing whatever a half of a 16th note is, and that's going to be a 32nd note rest. So remember, for eighth note, you have 1 flag, 2 flags for 16th notes, and 3 flags for 32nd notes, and so on and so forth. You'd have 4 for 64th notes. Okay, number 5, 3/4 time. Simple meter, 3 beats per bar. Quarter note gets that beat. This half note is beats 1 and 2. This is the start of beat 3, but notice I'm missing something from it. I want to have what corresponds to a full quarter note here. Right now I have an eighth plus a 16th, while I'm missing that other 16th. So now I have a full 3 quarter notes, the equivalent of in that 3/4 bar. All right, number 6 in 12/4, well, it's a compound meter. That top 12, that number on the top, says 4 beats, right? It's a quadruple meter for compound. The bottom number indicates the division. Therefore, the beat is going to be a dotted half. So 12/4 is basically like saying 4 dotted half notes per measure. So here's dotted half note number 1. Here's number 2, 3, and this is the start of the 4th beat. I'm missing the half note, right? So you can go ahead and write the half note rest in here. Now you might be saying to yourself, well, why not 2 quarter rests? And the idea here is as long as you're showing beat 1, 2, 3, and 4, you don't need to write 2 quarter rests because it's really just too much information. I showed my 4 beats, my 4 dotted half notes, and so whatever it takes to fill up the rest of that beat is what you want to do. Just a reminder that the half rest sits on the middle line, like that, and the whole rest is descending from the 4th line. So this is the half rest, and that's the whole rest. This is part C in that same self-test on page 36 from the textbook. What you want to do for this section is to look at the full measure of music and decide what the time signature or the meter is based on that full measure. So each example is 1 full measure of music, and there are 6 different time signatures to write here. Now, a couple things to think about. First of all, look for beam groups. Notes that are beamed together, like this one in number 2, or this one in number 3, or these beam groups in number 4, or this beam group in number 5, and these beam groups in number 6, for example. Because a lot of times the beam groups will tell you what's getting the beat. Because remember, you should always beam with the beat or beam on the beat. So, for example, here it looks like we have a beat of a dotted 8th because an 8th plus a 16th would be a dotted 8th. Or in number 5, it looks like the beat's a dotted quarter because 3 eighth notes would be 1 dotted quarter. Or in number 3, it looks like the 8th note might be the beat because 2 16ths are beamed together. And in number 2, it looks like the quarter note might be the beat since we have 2 eighth notes beamed together. Now, that's not always going to work because, for example, this right here is not a full beat, but it's a good place to start. Now, once you've identified potentially what the beat is, remember that if the beat is a dotted value, you're dealing with a compound meter. And if the beat is just a regular note value without a dot, then you probably have a simple meter. You can also look and see how many notes are in the beam group. For example, this one, you can see that the 3 divisions are in there. Or this one, you can see the 2 divisions are in there. Okay, so those are some things to think about. Let's begin with number 1. Well, number 1 doesn't actually have any beam groups because you can't beam together quarters or half notes or whole notes or dotted half notes, right? But you can see that it might be the dotted half note that is the beat. And if that were the case, that would be 1 division, 1 dotted half note. This would be a 2nd dotted half note, and this would be a 3rd dotted half note. Now, if we're talking about the dotted half note as being the beat, that's definitely going to be a compound meter, right? And if it's a compound meter, and it looks like we have 3 dotted half notes, that means the top number of your time signature is going to be a 9. Because 9 corresponds to a triple meter in a compound meter. So it's going to be compound triple. Now, what do we put on the bottom? Remember, the bottom number represents the division of the beat. So if the dotted half note is the beat, the division are going to be 3/4. And you can see the actual 9 quarter notes, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But 9/4 is more accurately depicted as 3 dotted half notes. Number 2 actually has 2 different possible answers. Let's go over both of them. This looks like the quarter note might be getting the beat. And if the quarter note gets the beat, then this is 2 beats. Here's the 3rd beat, and that's the 4th beat. So quite simply, 4/4 time. Remember, you can also use the C looks like this. And that represents common time, the same as 4/4. But it's also possible to see this as beat 1 and then this as beat 2. In that case, you're looking at 2 half notes. 2/2. So number 2, you could say 4/4 or 2/2. And 2/2, remember, is also known as cut time. And this is what cut time looks like. So that one actually has a couple different possibilities. Number 3, this seems to indicate the 8th note getting the beat because 2/16 equals 1/8 note. And if that's the case, we can see that the quarter would be 2 8th notes, and this would be the third one. 3/8, 3/8 notes. Okay, simple meter that has 3 beats where the 8th note gets the beat and 2/16 of the division. It'd be 1, 3, and, right? This would get 2 beats, and that would be the 3 and. All right, and number 4, it looks like there are 2 beats because of the beam groups, the way things are beamed together. And what you want to do then is say, well, what gets the beat? Well, an 8th and a 16th together form a dotted 8th. Is this also a dotted 8th? Well, here's the 8th. These 2 32nd notes are like 1/16. So this beam group and this beam group are equal. Well, if the beat value is a dotted 8th, it's going to be a compound meter, right? Notice there are 2 beats. That's 6 in compound. If the beat is a dotted 8th, your divisions are 16th notes. So the bottom number is a 16. Are there 6 16th notes in here? Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But again, this is beat 1 and this is beat 2. So 6/16, you should think of it as 2 dotted 8th notes. All right, number 5. This is very suggestive of a dotted quarter getting the beat, right? And if the dotted quarter gets the beat, you can see that there's 1, 2, 3, and 4 dotted quarter notes. Well, dotted quarter represents compound meter. And if there are 4 beats, the top number has to be a 12 of your time signature, remember? If the dotted quarter is your beat, the 8th notes are your division, so 8 on the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 8th notes. But 1, 2, 3, 4 dotted quarters. All right, the last one has some beam groups that you can look at. This first one is a 8th and 2/16, and then this one has 16th, 8th, 16th. So it is looking like the quarter note is my beat. Now, this figure right here, remember, is really the same as that, right? It's the value without the dot plus half of it. And then we have the 16th notes here. You can actually beam these together as well. So now you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 quarter notes. It's 4/4. It's just a more complicated rhythm in 4/4 time. So here's beat 1, here's beat 2, here's 3, 4 is kind of like right in the middle of it, and here's the and of 4. Ta, 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 ta. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and ta, 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 ta.